My fiancée sent me to jail on false charges to protect her alcoholic friend. So I broke up with her. I just need to vent. You know how it is when everything seems fine, but then it isn't? I'm 28 and I was engaged to this girl Emma, who's 25. We've been together for 5 years and got engaged 2 weeks ago. I thought everything was going smoothly, but wow, things turned upside down in a way I didn't expect. About 3 weeks ago, I came home from work after a long day and was tired. You know how it is. I just wanted to chill and maybe watch something. Anyway, I walked in and Emma was sitting at the dining table with her buddy. Dan has been around forever, like they've been friends since they were kids or whatever, so I don't think anything of it. I kiss Emma on the cheek, say hi, and give Dan a fist bump. I ask if he's okay just being polite. Dan isn't one to turn down hanging out, but this time he looks all serious and says, "Nah man, I'm good. I actually need to talk to you about something." I'm like, "Oh, okay. This must be serious." I look at Emma and she has this serious look on her face too. So I sit down with them and say, "Okay, what's going on?" Emma then says that Dan is going through a rough time. She starts to explain that Dan lost his job and his place to live, and now he has nowhere to go. You know, typical soap story. I felt awful for the guy, but I was wondering what this had to do with me. Then she told me that Dan could stay with us for a few weeks until he got back on his feet. Now, I'm not heartless. I know Dan well and I don't have anything against him, so I said yes, it's fine. But I made it clear that as long as he helps out around the house and doesn't make a mess, it's fine. He seemed very grateful. He even got up and hugged me and thanked me over and over. The first week was fine, like totally fine. Dan was keeping to himself mostly, and he was even doing chores. It was actually kind of nice to have someone else around to help out with stuff, and he didn't complain or anything. We'd watch some TV and everything seemed chill. I was even thinking, man, maybe this won't be so bad after all, but then man, things started going downhill fast. The second week, I start noticing stuff around the apartment, little things, but they add up, you know, like his dirty clothes would just be lying around, not just in his room, but like in the living room, under the couch cushions, socks, shirts, whatever, and it started to get annoying. So I talked to him being all polite about it. "Hey man, can you clean up after yourself a bit more? This is still our place, you know." He apologized, said he was sorry, promised to do better. I figured that was the end of it, but nope, things got worse. Fast forward a few days, I'm going to the bathroom one morning, and not to be gross, but the toilet was nasty. There was dried up vomit on the seat. Like he had puked and didn't even bother cleaning up. I couldn't believe it. Who does that? At this point, I'm realizing something's off with Dan. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I started noticing more and more. His room started to stink, and his attitude shifted. He was always tired. I confronted Emma about it and asked if she had noticed. She brushed it off like it was no big deal, saying he was going through a rough time. I said, "Yeah, okay, but so are we. If he's trashing the place," I couldn't ignore it any longer. One day after work, I swear the whole apartment smelled bad. I could feel my blood boiling as I walked down the hall to the guest room, knowing exactly what I was going to find. I barged into the room and found Dan lying on the bed. The place was a mess, with clothes everywhere and the smell. It was like he hadn't cleaned the room in days. I completely lost it and yelled at him, telling him he needed to clean up, contribute, or get out. No more playing nice. I told him he had 2 days to get his act together or leave. Emma tries to calm me down by saying I'm overreacting, but I won't listen. I've been patient enough, and he was totally taking advantage of the situation. Instead of apologizing, this guy stands up and lunges at me out of nowhere, full on attacking me. I didn't even have time to react. The next thing I know, I'm slammed into the wall and everything goes black. When I wake up, there are flashing lights everywhere. Takes me a second to realize it's not a dream. 2 cops are standing over me. One of them shone a flashlight straight in my face, and I could hear Emma's voice in the background. I attempted to get up, but my head was pounding and I was so confused. The cop helped me up and I asked him what was going on. He said that Emma had called them and said I had grown violent and attacked her and Dan. I'm thinking, what the hell? I attacked them? That doesn't even make sense. But they didn't want to hear my side of the story. They grabbed me and pulled me outside, and all I could see was Emma and Dan talking to the cops like they were the victims. I barely remember getting into the squad car, but I do remember looking at Emma. She wouldn't even look at me. She just stood there next to Dan looking upset like I was the problem. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Everything was a blur after that, and I don't even remember much of the drive to the station. All I know is that I ended up in a holding cell with a pounding head. Not sure how the hell this all happened so quickly. I was in my own home, and then I was taken away like a criminal. I kept thinking about it over and over again. Emma called the cops on me because I ordered Dan to get his act together or go. It didn't make any sense. I was confined in that cell for hours, and no one told me anything. I was just becoming angrier and angrier the whole time. I couldn't stop thinking about how I was the one who got knocked out, but somehow I was the bad guy. When they finally let me go, they acted like they were doing me a favor. One of the cops said, "You're lucky we're not pressing charges." I didn't even do anything, so I called my dad to come pick me up. I wasn't ready to go back to the apartment yet. I needed some time to cool down and think about everything. My dad had a million questions, but I wasn't ready to talk about it yet. All I told him was that I needed a ride and that Emma and Dan had basically turned on me. He could tell something serious had happened, but he didn't push. My mind was racing. How could Emma do this to me? We've been together for 5 years, 5 damn years, and now she pulls this. It wasn't like we had a perfect fairy tale relationship or anything, but I thought we were solid. This wasn't just a minor argument. It was betrayal, plain and simple. She had my back for 5 years, and now suddenly, when Dan comes, she chooses him over me. I couldn't believe it when I got back to my dad's house and crashed on the couch. I didn't have the energy to explain everything yet, and to be honest, I didn't even know what to say. "Hey Dad, guess what? My fiancée called the cops on me because her loser friend threw me into a wall." That would have gone over well. After a few days, I decided I needed to get my stuff from the apartment. I didn't want to stick around to have another fight with Emma. I was done with her, but when I got there, she was sitting on the couch like nothing had happened. I swear my blood was boiling the second I saw her. She had the nerve to try to look sad with her eyes red and puffy like she'd been crying nonstop. But to me, it was just an act. Before I could even say anything, she jumped up and started talking, trying to explain herself. "Jay, please just hear me out." I didn't know what else to do. Dan was freaking out, so I shut her off right then. "I don't want to hear it. Emma, you had a choice and you chose Dan over me. What else is there to say?" She kept begging, but I was done. I told her to pack her things and leave. I didn't care about the details anymore. I just wanted her out of my life. She tried to play the "I still love you" card, but at that point it didn't mean anything to me. Love doesn't mean calling the cops on your partner and lying to protect someone else. That's not love. That's betrayal. It took everything in me not to lose my cool again. How can someone you trust for 5 years turn on you like that? I thought we were creating something real, something solid, but I guess I was wrong. I instructed her to leave and take her things, and she did, but not before trying to convince me a million more times. After she left, I thought I would feel better, like the worst side of the scenario was gone, but I just felt empty. I sat in my own apartment and wondered how everything fell apart so rapidly. I started to mistrust everything about our relationship, including the engagement. Had she been lying to me this whole time? Was Dan always more important to her than I was? Then, a few days later, Emma started calling me again. I ignored it, but after the 50th missed call, I decided to listen to what she had to say. She's crying again, telling me how sorry she is and how she didn't mean for any of this to happen. She told me she panicked when Dan knocked me out and that she didn't want him to get in trouble because he was already on probation. They thought it would be easier to lie and say I was the one who attacked them. Yeah, that makes so much sense, right? I didn't know what to reply to it. Easier? Easier for who? It sure wasn't easier for me. Because of their lies, I spent the night in jail. I got knocked out in my own home, and somehow I'm the bad guy. She tried to explain that it was all a mistake and that they panicked in the moment, but I didn't care anymore. I hung up on her because I couldn't listen to any more of her excuses. I didn't want to hear about how she didn't mean to hurt me because she did hurt me, and the worst part was that she didn't even seem to realize how deep that cut went. That night I got hit with the worst headache I've ever had. I was throwing up, dizzy, and couldn't even stand up without feeling like I was going to pass out. So I went to the hospital and guess what? They told me I had a concussion. I might have had a concussion that night. Dan knocked me out, but I didn't get checked out right away, so I made it worse by not resting. Now I'm stuck at home for at least a month, and all I can do is think about how messed up my life has become. I lost my fiancé, my trust in someone I thought I loved, and now I'm physically wrecked because of it. To make matters worse, Emma keeps trying to come over and leaving messages saying she wants to talk. But what is there to talk about? She made her choice and lied to protect herself. Dan, I'm just trying to figure out how to move on from this. Should I completely ignore her or give her the closure she's begging for? Part of me wants to disappear and never hear from her again, but the part of me that still loves her knows I need to do something. But what? It's been about a week since everything happened, and I've been stuck at home recovering from this damn concussion. Let me tell you, being stuck in your own head with nothing but your thoughts and a messed up relationship to think about is not the kind of rest I needed. Emma has been trying to reach out to me all the time, and it's getting ridiculous. I've got messages from her mom, her sister, all saying how sorry she is and how she just wants to see me and explain everything, but at this point what's left to explain? She already told me the worst of it, right? But every time I ignore her I feel this weird pit in my stomach, like I'm questioning if maybe I'm making the wrong call. You ever get that feeling where you know something's the right move, but it still eats at you anyway? A few days ago I get this text from her mom, and this is where things take a pretty messed up turn. Her mom tells me Emma tried to overdose on painkillers. Yeah, I know, that hit me like a brick. She said Emma was in the hospital and that she was asking to see me. My first reaction, honestly, I felt guilty. I mean, I ghosted her for a week straight and now she's in the hospital, but then the anger kicked in. Was this another way to get sympathy? I know that sounds harsh, but after what she did, lying to the cops, throwing me under the bus for Dan of all people, I couldn't help but question everything she says or does now. I kept thinking, is this just some play to make me feel like I'm the one at fault, or was she really at that low point? I didn't text her mom back right away. I just sat there, phone in hand, staring at the message. My mind was going a million miles an hour. A part of me wanted to rush to the hospital to check on her, see if she was okay, but another part of me, the part that still pissed and hurt, wanted to stay as far away from that whole mess as possible. What would even happen if I went? Would it just be another round of excuses and I didn't mean to or would I find out that she really was sorry, that she really did hit rock bottom? So I talked to my mom. She's been staying with me while I recover, helping me out, and all that. She's been amazing through this whole thing. Honestly, she asked me how I was feeling, and I straight up told her about the text from Emma's mom. And you know what my mom said? She told me I needed to think long and hard before making any decisions, that I should be careful with whatever move I make next. But she also reminded me that Emma's actions have consequences, that what she did wasn't just a little mistake. It was something huge, and it nearly ruined my life. She told me that if I do decide to see her, I need to be sure I'm ready for whatever comes next. It's not just a visit, it's a choice that could open up old wounds and drag me right back into the chaos. I'm trying to get away from it. But that's the part that got me. My mom has always been the rational one, and when she said that, I knew she was right. I wasn't ready to face Emma again. Not yet. Not when I'm still putting my life back together. So I decided to stay home, ignore the texts, and keep focusing on healing physically and mentally. But it's not that easy. Every day I wake up and check my phone to see if I'm going to get another update from her mom, wondering if Emma's okay, if she's still in the hospital, or if she's moved on from this whole thing. I keep thinking back to all the good times we had, the 5 years we spent together before everything fell apart. It's like this constant battle in my head between what I know I should do and what my heart still feels for her. Then yesterday, something else happened out of the blue. Dan sends me a message. Can you believe this guy has the guts to text me after everything? When I saw his name pop up, I almost threw my phone across the room. Instead, I opened the message. It was short and to the point. Hey man, I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't mean to hurt you, and I hope you can forgive me. I read that message over and over, and all I could think was, are you kidding me? This dude knocked me out, got me arrested, and now he wants my forgiveness for what? Because he didn't mean to hurt me? What does that even mean? You don't accidentally ram someone into a wall and leave them unconscious. That's not a mistake, that's a choice. I didn't respond. I couldn't. There was nothing I could say to him that wouldn't just make me even angrier, so I blocked his number and tried to move on, but his message still bugs me. It's like he's trying to get off the hook with a half-ass apology, like that'll somehow make everything okay again. And Emma, she's still out there waiting for me to reach out, waiting for me to come to the hospital and see her, and I'm just here stuck in the middle of this whole mess, trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do next. Do I let them back into my life, or do I walk away for good? Because right now all I feel is this mix of anger, sadness, and yeah, I'll admit it, guilt. As much as I don't want to admit it, I still care about Emma, and that's the hardest part. One can't just switch that off even after everything she's done, but caring about her doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change the fact that she lied to the cops and put me in jail. It doesn't change the fact that Dan, her so-called friend, attacked me in my own home and she did nothing to stop it, and it sure as hell doesn't change the fact that I'm sitting here alone with a concussion while they get to move on with their lives. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I've got no clue what the next step is, but I know one thing for sure: I'm not rushing back into anything. I've been burned once and I'm not about to let it happen again. But damn man, I just wish things didn't have to be this complicated. Update 2. Alright, so things took another wild turn. I thought I was done dealing with all this crap, but guess what? Turns out life had other plans. I've been lying low trying to figure out what to do next. I mean, the whole thing still has me all messed up, but just when I thought I could get some peace, another bomb drops. Figuratively speaking, of course, only a few days after Dan's lame apology. I'm at home, minding my own business, trying to get my head back to normal after the concussion. Everything feels like a chore. You know how it is when you're stuck at home with nothing to do but overthink things. Then my phone starts buzzing again. At first I was like, nope, not dealing with this. But then I saw the name on the screen. It wasn't Emma, her mom, or Dan. It was Emma's sister Lucy, and I wasn't expecting that at all. Lucy and I have never been very close. We got along fine, but she wasn't really a part of my life outside of family get-togethers or holidays. So when she texted me out of the blue, that raised a red flag. When I opened the message, it reads something like, "Hey Joe, I need to talk to you about Emma. Please don't ignore me." I wasn't in the mood for more drama, but Lucy isn't the type to stir things up just for the sake of it. So I texted her back to let her know I was listening. She sent me a long message about how Emma isn't doing well at all. The overdose wasn't just a cry for help or a way to get attention. Emma has been in a really dark place since I cut her off. She's barely eating and talking to anyone, and apparently she's seeing a therapist now and things aren't looking good. I don't know what to do with that information. I mean, I feel bad, of course. I don't want to see anyone, let alone someone I spent 5 years with, go through something like that. But at the same time, I keep thinking about what Emma did. I can't just forget the whole thing and go back to how things were. That's not how it works. Lucy's message keeps saying that Emma wants to make things right, that she regrets everything, and that she really needs to talk to me. I was sitting there looking at my phone and thinking about whether or not I should give her a chance to explain herself. But every time I did, I remembered how betrayed I felt when she chose Dan over me at the most important moment. That's not something you can easily get over. So I asked Lucy straight up if she thought Emma was being honest or just trying to get sympathy. I know it sounds harsh, but after everything, I had to ask. Lucy quickly replied that she had never seen Emma like this before, and that she was really struggling and had realized how much she messed up. That hit me harder than I expected. Maybe she really does regret everything, but even if she does that change anything? Can you really forgive someone after something like this? I'm still not sure, so I told Lucy I needed some time to think, and she said she understood but hoped I would talk to Emma soon. Here's the thing, part of me wants to see her. I want to hear her out and see if she's really sorry or if she's just making excuses. But the other part of me is like, dude, why would you put yourself through that again? I've been going back and forth with myself ever since I got that message. It's like I'm stuck in this loop of wanting to move on but also feeling like I need some kind of closure, so I tried to keep myself busy. I went for a walk to get some fresh air and clear my head, but of course I ran into Dan. This guy has the worst timing ever. He was standing there like he had been waiting for me, and I thought about just walking right past him, but he called out, "Joe, wait!" against my better judgment. I stopped because I didn't want to fight again, but I wasn't going to run away like a coward. Dan came up to me and started talking before I could say anything. He said, "Look, man, I know you hate me right now and I get it. I really messed up, but I just want to explain myself." I didn't want to hear his excuses, but I let him talk anyway. He talked about how he was going through a tough time and how losing his job and getting kicked out of his place messed with his head. He admitted that attacking me was the worst thing he could have done and that he's been trying to figure out how to make it right. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. He told me that he and Emma haven't talked since the night I got arrested. It seems that after I kicked her out, she stopped talking to him as well. Dan looked really upset when he told me this. Like he really cared about her and didn't know what to do now that she wasn't talking to him. I didn't know what to think. It's fantastic that Emma finally figured out that Dan is bad for her. But why didn't she see it sooner? Why did all this trouble have to happen for her to see what sort of person he is? I didn't say much to Dan because I really am Dan. I informed him that he couldn't mend it and that it was too late. He looked defeated, like he knew I was right but didn't want to admit it. He said he was sorry again and walked away, leaving me with even more questions than I had before. Now I'm stuck with this mess. Emma is in a really dark place. Dan is out of the picture, and I'm trying to decide whether to reach out to her or just keep moving on. I don't know what to do. Every time I think I've made a decision, something else comes up and I'm back to square one. It's like, do I want to risk getting hurt again, or do I just let it all go and focus on myself? I've been trying to weigh the pros and cons, but no matter what, there's no easy answer. Either way, someone gets hurt, whether it's me, Emma, or both of us. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Stuck in limbo, unsure of what to do next. Part of me thinks I should just cut ties completely and move on with my life, but another part of me feels like I need to see this through to find out if Emma really has changed. It's a mess, man. A real mess. And I have no idea how to get out of it. Update 3. So after that run-in with Dan and Lucy's message about Emma, for the next few days, I just sat in my apartment trying to clear my head. Every time I thought I had things figured out, I would get stuck again and start to doubt myself. It was driving me crazy, but then something happened that I wasn't expecting. Emma reached out to me directly again, but this time she sent me a long text instead of calling or showing up at my door. I wasn't sure whether or not to open it. I stared at my phone for a good 5 minutes trying to decide if I even wanted to read it. But my curiosity got the best of me and I opened it. Her message started with an apology. This time a real one. Not one of those, "I'm sorry," but kinds of apologies. She said she knew she messed up in ways she couldn't fix, and that choosing Dan over me in that moment was the biggest mistake of her life. She also said she doesn't expect me to forgive her. Then she went on to say how lost she's been since everything happened, how she's been trying to make sense of it all, but she realizes now that no amount of excuses can change what happened. I could tell this wasn't some half-ass apology. She was laying it all out there, telling me how she's been going to therapy trying to figure out why she acted the way she did, and how she's working on herself. Emma said she didn't want to hurt me anymore, and that she wasn't reaching out to beg for me back, she just needed to say her piece. She ended the message by saying she hoped one day I could at least understand why she did what she did, but that she knew we might never be okay again after reading it. I had to sit down for a minute and just breathe. It's weird, getting an apology like that after everything that's happened. Part of me felt relieved, like maybe I could finally let go of some of the anger I'd been holding on to, but another part of me was still like, is this enough? Does this really change anything? I didn't respond right away. I needed to think. Yeah, it was a good apology, but did that mean I was ready to talk to her again? Was I ready to open that door? Because once you open it, you can't just close it again, right? That's when things get complicated. Anyway, later that night, I talked to my mom about it. I hadn't told her about the latest text yet, so I filled her in on everything Emma had said. My mom's reaction surprised me a little. She didn't immediately jump to "you should forgive her" or "you should move on." Instead, she told me something that stuck with me. She said, "Joe, sometimes people do terrible things, but that doesn't mean they're terrible people. You have to decide if this is something you can move past, not for her sake, but for your own." And that got me thinking. I wasn't just holding on to the anger because I didn't want to forgive Emma. I was holding on to it because part of me was scared of what would happen if I did. Like, if I let go of that anger, what's left? How do you move forward when the thing that's been driving you for weeks is suddenly gone? So I sat with that for a while. I didn't respond to Emma's text for a couple of days. I kept reading it over and over, trying to figure out how I felt, and then one night something clicked. I realized I wasn't mad anymore. Like, sure, I was still hurt, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon, but the anger, it was gone. I wasn't burning with it like I had been before. It was weird. Honestly, I didn't expect to feel that shift, but there it was. That's when I decided to respond to Emma. I kept it short, but I was honest. I told her I appreciated the apology, that I could tell she was being genuine, and that I hoped she was serious about working on herself. I said I didn't know what the future held for us, but that I wasn't ready to completely cut her off. I didn't promise anything. I just left the door cracked open a bit. Her response came almost immediately. She thanked me, said it meant more than I knew, and that she wasn't expecting anything from me. She just wanted me to know she was trying to do better, and honestly, that was enough for me right then. I wasn't ready to dive back into anything, but at least it felt like things were starting to settle, like maybe, just maybe, I could start to move forward. But just when I thought I had some peace, the universe threw another wrench into things. Out of nowhere, I get a message from Dan. Yep, Dan again, this time, though it wasn't some half an apology or plea for forgiveness. No, this time he sent me this long rambling message about how he and Emma had been seeing each other behind my back for a while. He said he didn't want to carry the secret anymore, that he felt like he needed to come clean. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I had my suspicions when Everything went down, but to have it confirmed it was like getting punched in the gut all over again. I sat there staring at my phone, reading his words over and over. They'd been messing around while I was at work, while I was busting my ass to make sure we had a roof over our heads, and she had the nerve to play the victim to beg for my forgiveness. After everything, at that moment everything shifted again. The anger came flooding back, not just at Emma, but at myself too. How had I been so blind? How had I let them both make a fool out of me like that? I didn't respond to Dan. I couldn't. What was the point? But I did send Emma one final text. It wasn't long, and I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told her I knew about her and Dan, that I knew they'd been lying to me for who knows how long, and that I was done, really done this time. I told her I didn't need any more explanations or apologies. I just wanted her out of my life for good. She didn't respond, not that night, not the next day, not ever, and honestly I think that's for the best. Sometimes things get so broken that there's no fixing them, and I guess this was one of those times. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. It's over for real this time. No more WH ifs, no more second chances, just me moving forward one step at a time.